For 6 centuries, the Ottoman Empire waged relentless war against kingdoms, sultans, crusader armies, rebels, and rising European powers. They gained territory, lost it, and redrew their borders. Their armies were constantly on the move, from the Balkans to the Arabian deserts. And yet, despite all this, they accomplished something few empires in history have. They survived for 600 years without going bankrupt. Because the Ottomans didn't just fight, they found a way to finance the war. The Ottoman Empire lasted from approximately 1299 to 1922. That's longer than Rome, longer than Britain. But that's not the most interesting thing. The real question is, how did an empire that was almost constantly at war survive for centuries? In the West, it's thought that empires collapse because they lose wars. But no, it's not wars that destroy empires. It's bad budgets, weak leadership, and a lack of functioning logistics. The Ottomans realized this very early on, and instead of establishing a traditional tax army model like the states in Europe, they created something far more efficient, a self-financing war machine. But first, let's look at the beginnings of the Ottomans, from a tribe to an empire. The Ottomans emerged as a small principality in northwestern Anatolia. A few thousand cavalrymen around Osman Bey were in the right place at the right time. Byzantium was weakening, the Mongols were retreating. In this situation, the Ottomans were ideally positioned for new territories. And each conquered place was not just land. It meant new villages, new taxes, new resources, new income. So in the Ottoman Empire, war was a source of income, not a cost. With the capture of Bursa in 1326 and the expansion into Europe in the 1350s, the Ottomans were no longer just a tribe. They had seized control of the Asia-Europe trade routes. There was nothing more profitable in the medieval economy. Silk, spices, carpets, horses, weapons, timber. Whatever was transported, it passed through Ottoman lands and left behind taxes. But the income was insufficient, because most empires in history had income, but most collapsed under the weight of military expenditures. What made the Ottomans different was the financial architecture they established. Timar, a self-financed army. While European kingdoms spent tons of money on knights and mercenaries, the Ottomans chose a different path, not paying soldiers' salaries. Yes, you heard right. Instead of salaries, they gave the Sipahis, cavalrymen, the right to collect taxes. Each Sipahi owned a Timar. He collected taxes from specific villages, and in return, he financed his own horses, weapons, and armor, and participated in campaigns. This system reduced state expenses, almost eliminated military costs, brought local stability to the villages, and provided the state with a massive, low-cost cavalry force. The Sipahi, Ottoman cavalryman, had no salary. He was self-funded. This is one of the most successful examples of financial engineering in history. The Janissaries, a professional corps established through devshirme, recruitment of Christian boys. After the cavalry, the infantry needed funding. This is where the Janissaries came in. Thanks to the devshirme system, Christian children from the Balkans were selected, brought to Istanbul, and trained to the highest standards. The ethical debate is important here. The system was harsh, coercive, and not romantic. But from a financial perspective, the state shifted the initial cost of having a professional army onto the conquered populations. The initial training costs of the Janissaries were borne by the society, not the state. The state only covered the expenses during their education and military service. And for many years, the Janissaries had no right to marry or start businesses. They were entirely dependent on the state. The result? A cheap, loyal, and powerful infantry corps. Conquest was self-funding. Every Ottoman conquest generated resources for the next. New taxpayers, new fiefs, new trade routes, new ports, new tributes, new spoils of war. A European kingdom could win a war and return impoverished. The Ottomans, however, returned rich. Trade, monopolies, and tribute. The emperor was at the crossroads of 3 continents. Every commodity moving between East and West had to pay the Ottomans. Furthermore, the state established state monopolies on strategic commodities such as salt, tobacco, and coffee. Controlled regions like Crimea, through a tribute system instead of directly governing them. These methods ensured a stable and strong cash flow for the empire. Collapse. The system couldn't withstand the changes in the world. After the 1600s, the balance of power shifted. Europe industrialized. Trade shifted from land routes to sea. The Timar system collapsed. The Janissaries became politicized and uncontrollable. And finally, the Ottomans were forced to do what they had avoided for centuries: